because it was a totally useless, worthless situation. I don't know why I got angry, but I did. I allowed myself to get angry, and then I listened to her and I said, well, now you've solved your own problem, haven't you? Yeah. 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 Just one thing I wouldn't necessarily agree with, or I want to change the picture of. You don't create the positive energy around you. You create it within you. Because if you create it within you, you become impenetrable. But if you create it around you, it's a wall. It's something that you created external to self, and it can be broken. Okay, and then that's what a lot of people do when they try to be non-egoic. They try to create a version of themselves that they think is spiritual. Now, what one has to do is to go back into your true self inside authentically. And one of the biggest difficulties that people have with doing that is the reconciliation of their duality. People can't accept that they sometimes fail. People can't accept that they sometimes make mistakes. People sometimes can't expect, did I really do that? They can't, you have to, it's a self-examination of who you were, who you are, right from childhood. And saying, I accept that authentic self. I accept that being warts and all. That's who I am. And it doesn't mean that that's who I am now. That is my history, but I can change my history because my history doesn't exist anymore in my consciousness unless I choose it. So I don't have to allow my past to affect who I am now. But to understand myself, I have to look at my past, my history, and that helps to develop the identity of self. Because when I was young, I was very shy. I was very withdrawn. And then through because I was a talented sportsman and talented academically and talented musically, I got projected into a different personality. And so I became this outgoing person who, shammed it. I became the kind of person that everyone else wanted me to be. And I did that for 40 years. And then I kind of had a shake-up and hang on, is that who I really am? What about that shy little boy that I was when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old? What about that very thoughtful little boy that I used to be? What about that caring little boy, the one who cared, the one who was prepared to serve? And then suddenly I began to realize, hang on, I had some really different qualities then that I have now. And then I realized that what had happened to me, I had changed into what other people had wanted me to be. So that is, I could say, well, I was terrible. How could I have done that? And blah, blah, blah. But it's acceptance of self and the things that you've done, the things you've been, and allowing that to be present in your consciousness and staying true to that true self, that doesn't allow anything outside of you, because I'm a sovereign being, and that's something that everyone has to understand. They're absolutely unique, and they have sovereignty over that uniqueness, and they make the choice. They have the volition to make choices about the way they live, and they don't have to allow anything external to them to make choices for them. That's the nature of sovereignty. Sovereignty is absolute self-sovereignty. We don't need governments, we don't need our parents, we don't need teachers, we don't need friends, we don't need lovers, we don't need spouses to tell us who we should be. We have to stay sovereign within ourselves and allow the expression of that as authentically as we can on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if that makes sense to you. It was the God mind. Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you how it works too. Okay, now between our programming, our DNA, and in our fields, we have codes. Okay, and those codes are fractal geometry images, if I can put it that way. Do you know something about fractal geometry? Fractal geometry, where everything is part of something else, that as it grows bigger, then it becomes the same thing that it was originally, and so it grows out and in, and it's always a part of. That's what fractal means. And so in our auric fields, we have the codes which emerge from the fractal geometry. Now, the fractal geometry is the part, a fraction of our God cells. And that translates into, that manifests as the physical body. People think their DNA creates a physical body. It's actually the codes in your fields that determine your DNA. And then your DNA determines how you look in your body. Many beings of with high frequency are able to change their physical appearance. They're able to live longer lives. They're able to live healthier lives by this understanding. So if thoughts and emotions are turned into behaviors, and the problem that people have, they have this duality within them, that they want to behave this way, but they actually behave the other way. And when you begin to behave in congruence and coherence with your higher self, your inner self, your true self, so that changes the codes in your fields, which begins to change the codes in your DNA. And if you're able to do that, and it all stems from the self interpreting the experience you're having and behaving appropriately. So you don't get aggressive, you don't get angry. I didn't understand why I shouldn't get angry, so I had to have this understanding before I could actually say, now, I understand. When I behave in an angry way, then what I'm doing is I'm changing the codes in my auric fields, which is changing my DNA. So that when I do that, when I'm angry, the codes change my DNA so I can get sick, or I can get ill, or I can get a headache, or I can, I'm exposing my body, my DNA, the cells in my body to this anger. Whereas if I'm able to change the behavior, I can change the codes in my fields and the codes in my body. And since I discovered that in 2003, I've never been sick. I don't get sick. I don't get toothache, earache, headache, colds, flu. I once had skin cancer. Don't suffer from that anymore. I don't get sick because I realize that I'm interacting with my spirit body, my soul body, but through my behaviors. And I'm telling my soul body what I want to experience by my behavior. So I have a choice. Do I want to experience anger, or do I want to experience forgiveness? And that will change your DNA in your body, and will exchange. It will change the experience you have in your manifest life. No, there's something you're missing, okay, and it's important to understand that. Emotions and thoughts create potential behavior, if I can call it that. And you have to choose which of those how you're going to behave, because it's your behavior, not your thoughts. You can intend that you want to be this kind, gentle, loving person, but if you don't behave in that way, it's not going to make any difference in your experience here. You have to behave that way. And when you start to behave that way, that changes the experience you're having. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but you have to have that intention beforehand. That's what I'm saying. We do have these intentions. Everybody has a choice between good and evil, or to behave this way or that way. But what I'm saying is, when you behave in a certain way, that has repercussions in your auric fields and in the universe. And that gets all those messages get read, picked up through your pineal gland, goes out to the universe. The universe then gives you back what you're telling it. And if you're telling it anger, that's what you're going to experience. So, it's a cycling thing, but the key thing is if you can express behaviors. If somebody approaches you aggressively, you don't have to react with aggression also. You know, I often just laugh at people when they approach me aggressively, like a policeman did today. And I put a smile on my face and I said, "Hi, are you having a good day?" And he looked at me. No, no, not a good day. It's cold here and I'm standing outside. Oh, I said, well, that's terrible. I'm sorry for you. I mean, my